Okay, everyone, take 27.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Joel. This is Chloe.
We're Alcone Middleton.
We're Carter Williamson.
Huntingford Architecture.
We're Dicey Richards.
We're Borelli.
Excellent Architects.
Hi from Gatanu.
We're the Kawan Architects.
We're Wilson Architects.
Hi, I'm John Taylor.
We're Blake Smart.
We're Matt Studio.
You're watching the awards.
You're watching the Architectural Awards where?
From Gadigal Country in Sydney.
From Brisbane.
We're standing outside our sunny Glen Osmond studio.
Speak to you from New York City.
Recently relocated from Dubai.
International chapter council are based in Hong Kong. And you're watching the Australian International Architecture Awards.
Got it on.
Oh, I forgot it.
Hello and welcome to the 2020 Australian International Architecture Awards live stream. I'm Viv O'Connell and it is my pleasure to be your host today. To begin, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners and custodians of land across Australia, and I pay respect to elders past, present and emerging. I also extend that respect to other First Nations around the world. Well, today marks the 9th and the final of the Australian Institute of Architects Chapter Awards announcements. And after today, the national jury's work will begin in earnest. So far, we've seen projects entered across every Australian state and territory, but today's live stream is a chance to bring the work of the members abroad to a much broader audience. We'll be seeing projects that improve the urban fabric of cities and towns, homes, places of work and learning, and of course also the public realm. Now, the projects that receive an award today will go through for consideration in the international category of the National Architecture Awards later in this year, the highest honour of which is the Jørn Utzon Award for International Architecture. So to give some context to the work of the Australian architects abroad, let's take a look now at projects that have received the Jørn Utzon Award over the years. Manchester Civil Justice Centre by Denton Corker Marshall. Watercube National Swimming Centre, Beijing by CSCEC, PTW Architects, CCDI and Arab. Tickets by Choi Repair, Perkins Eastman and PKSB. The Met, Bangkok, Thailand by Woha. School of the Arts, Singapore by Woha. Auckland Art Gallery, Toi o Tamaki by FJMT and Archimedia, Architects in Association. Australia House by Andrew Burns Architect in association with Atelier Imamu. Stonehenge Exhibition and Visitor Centre by Denton Corker Marshall. Pico Branch Library by Koning Eisenberg Architecture. Australian Pavilion, Venice by Denton Corker Marshall. Amanimu by Kerry Hill Architects. Australian Embassy, Bangkok by BVN. And last year's recipient, Somewhere Other by John Wardle Architects. And now let's get underway with the announcements. We'll begin with the W.J. Mitchell Prize. Named in recognition of the late Bill Mitchell, Horsham-born former Dean of Architecture and Planning at MIT, this prize seeks to honour Australians who, like Mitchell, have made a significant contribution to the profession, study or advancement of architecture beyond our shores, often in a sphere of influence running parallel to or in support of usual architectural practice. The prize was first awarded in 2012 by the international chapter of the Australian Institute of Architects. Now awarded biennially, the jury consists of the entire International Chapter Council. So, without any further ado, this year's recipient is Antonia Syme, Director of the Australian Tapestry Workshop, for her work curating and promoting the Tapestry Design Prize for Architects. The Tapestry Design Prize for Architects is an initiative of the board of the Australian Tapestry Workshop, which Antonia Syme has successfully developed and promoted through the Institute's membership both in Australia and overseas. Her encouragement and clear enthusiasm to encourage architects to enter the competition or to include a commissioned tapestry in their work has promoted not only the now rare and meticulous art of tapestry weaving, but has also enriched the work of Australian architecture on the world stage, through the significant commissions now hung in prominent locations around the globe. Congratulations, Antonia. And I'm delighted to say that I am joined now live. Hello, Antonia, how are you?
Hello, Viv. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm so deeply honoured to be awarded the William J. Mitchell Award Prize for the Tapestry Design Prize for Architects, and I'm so grateful to the international chapter for recognising the importance and the value of this prize. Wonderful. Very special.
Wonderful. And is there anything that you'd like to say to those watching today, Antonia, about the Australian Tapestry Workshop?
Well, I just want to say that this prize is a wonderful way for architects around the world to collaborate with the Australian Tapestry Workshop in really exploring the universal architectural experience and expanding the boundaries of creative collaboration. And it was conceived by our former chairman, architect Peter Williams, and he was very keen to re-engage architects with the ancient art form of tapestry in a very contemporary context. And so it's really gone from strength to strength, and I'm just so grateful to all the judges, all the participants, Peter Williams, the board, and particularly Architecture Media, who got right behind us at the very beginning, and who've made this whole thing possible. Very exciting.
Oh, wonderful. And thank you so much for sending through those images. The work certainly does look extraordinary. Now, you've listed quite a few people there that you've thanked. Is there anyone else that you'd like to acknowledge on receiving this prize, Antonia?
Well, my special thanks to the international chapter who've recognised this, but particularly to Peter Williams, because it was his idea, and really so many people have got behind it right from the very beginning. So there's so many people that are collaborating to make this prize the rich prize that it is. We're just finalising the next jury and the next potential site, so we'll have some announcements shortly on the next prize.
Wonderful. Well, everyone can keep their eye out for that one. Thank you so much for joining us today, Antonia, and congratulations once again on receiving this prize.
Thank you very much, Viv.
And now on to the main awards categories, which were assessed by the International Chapter jury, which was chaired this year by Wei Jian. She was joined in the deliberations by Razvan Gilek-Miku of Hassel and Minnie Cade from John Wardle Architects. And to tell us a little bit about the judging process this year, I caught up with Wei a little earlier. Well, Wei, thank you so much for joining us all the way from New York. 2020 has been quite a year, hasn't it? Can you tell us what kind of impact has that had on the judging process this year?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely been a very different year this year. But I guess, you know, being the international chapter, we don't have a common physical location where we can meet and gather. So this is actually the way that we would usually meet. The International Chapter Council meets via Zoom, just like this. And the jury this year, Razvan's in Singapore, Minnie's in Melbourne, I'm in New York. So, together we have to go through this, process of dialogue and debating and, a series of meetings in the same way. So while it's, under new context, it's actually quite familiar to us.
And this year's Field of Entrance, do you have any overall comments about the projects?
The projects that were entered this year, they all have, various contexts and, challenges that they're facing, whether it's in Southeast Asia or in America or, wherever the project is, the architects that are working on these projects are usually local to that area, and they're really thinking about those things in a way that will respond to that specific condition. And so it really has been a really different way of thinking about how the projects actually compare when we're looking at all the criteria that we're trying to meet.
And did you detect any common themes among them?
Yeah, the various methodologies that people have applied to these projects have really translated into really unique architecture, meticulous detailing that really is inherently Australian, I would say, in a way that they have this integrity of material, form, and detail and way of making buildings and projects that I think really has resonated with the entries that we've seen this year.
Well, Wei, that sounds like a pretty good segue to take a look at the projects entered into this year's International Chapter Awards. So I might let you go there. Take care, and I hope to see you soon. Thank you.
Okay, talk soon. Bye.
Funan by Woodsbaggett. This vibrant live-work-play hub fosters connections through lively social and cultural activities, inviting public places and energetic community vibes. Co-working office spaces and residential co-living amenities develop a strong community culture, which feeds into the entire precinct. JB Tower by Denton Core Commercial, Jakarta, Duta Cermat Mandiri. JB Tower is a new 30-storey office tower located near the National Monument in Jakarta and references the coming of age of Indonesian democracy. Made of stacked boxes and terraces, the building creates individual spaces and numerous corner offices for corporate users. The Apurva Kempinski Bali by Denton Core Commercial, Jakarta, Duta Cermat Mandiri. Located on the southern tip of Bali, this hotel allows visitors to feel they're living in a Balinese temple, intertwining landscape elements, short-stay habitation, food production and casual living in a hilltop community by the sea. The Teeing by Nick Blundstone. Due to its remote location on the northern coast of Bali, the design of this boutique resort deliberately leans on traditional materials and construction techniques, while providing a robust conceptual framework and is embedded into its local and cultural context. Suasana PJH by TR Hamza and Yang. This mixed commercial development with landscaped central promenade brings a buzz and public communal life to an otherwise inactive and dull boulevard, encompassing urban fabric and public realm and enhancing the occupants' and public's well-being. Aman Kyoto by Kerry Hill Architects. This small luxury hotel, situated in an 8-acre garden surrounded by forests, utilises the established platforms for new pavilions, and the new zinc-roofed and timber-clad buildings are deliberately simple and reductionist to allow nature and landscape to visually dominate. Eco Kindi by Lava, Laboratory for Visionary Architecture with Module K. The design of a new eco-kindergarten near Hanoi encourages curiosity, activity-based learning and interaction with nature for the next generation of Vietnamese children. Interconnected interior and exterior spaces are playful and safe while making an architectural statement. Nanjing International School Early Years Redevelopment by EIW Architects. Led by passionate staff and visionary leadership, EIW have explored breaking down barriers within an existing building to expand space, connect the learners with the outdoors, bring in natural daylight and build a fluid and flexible learning environment. Museum Lab by Koning Eisenberg Architecture. The Carnegie Library's legacy of innovation is reincarnated as the Museum Lab, a testing ground for teen learning. The formerly abandoned historic library now houses space for youth to experiment with art and technology, a charter middle school and incubator space for non-profits in the education sector. The work project Asia Square by Hassel. Drawing on Denton Corker Marshall's iconic Asia Square and Precinct, this design is an exploration of the grid, both through rigid implementation and a playful deviation. Standouts include an entry featuring a mirror box lined with a living green wall, a collaboration with horticultural artist Patrick Blanc, encapsulated by a neutral, art-lined corridor. Parliament of Samoa Mautafono by Garda Moseley Brown Architects. Sitting on a narrow strip of land 250 metres wide, projecting into the Pacific Ocean, the Parliament of Samoa is a symbol of stable democracy in the Pacific and the capability of the local construction industry, and blends the tradition of Samoan culture with the requirements of a modern legislative council. Terrace House near Demachianagi by Atelier Luke. Located in the quiet suburbs of Kyoto, this typical Japanese row house has been respectfully renovated using Japanese and Australian design sensibilities, stripping the house back to its essential structure and remaking the dwelling through careful intervention, legibly differentiating between old and new. Miura Fold House by James Stockwell Architect. The landscape near Wanaka on the South Island of New Zealand is one of exposed open vistas, and the dramatic geology of ridges and valleys has inspired the inverted roof form, which wraps the interior space while opening up and out to let in winter sun and panoramic views. And the Arroyo Affordable Housing by Koning Eisenberg Architecture. Located on a rapidly developing urban street, this project offers 64 units of affordable housing for families that earn 30 to 60% of county mean income. 2 5-storey buildings are arranged around an open-ended courtyard, which provides a social hub for residents, captures prevailing ocean breezes, provides daylight to apartments and makes the street more pedestrian-friendly.
Hi, my name is Vui Chung, International Chapter Councillor based in Hong Kong, and you're watching the Australian International Architecture Awards.
Thanks, Vui Chong, and what a diverse range of entrants this year. Let's get underway with the announcements, the first of which is for educational architecture, where the jury has awarded one commendation, which goes to Eco Kindy by Lava, Laboratory for Visionary Architecture with Module K. This kindergarten near Hanoi aims to create a new typology for the next generation of Vietnamese children, one that creates spaces encouraging curiosity through learning. Experiencing carefully designed spaces from an early age, the aim is to foster creativity and to allow young children to perceive spaces in a new way. Congratulations, Lava and Module K. The next categories are for residential architecture and interior architecture, and it's my pleasure to hand over to juror Razvan Gillick-Miku from Hassel to say a few words about these categories and to make the announcement for residential architecture, multiple housing.
Thanks, Viv. Before we get into it, I wanted to send everyone watching my warmest regards from Singapore. I really hope you are well and safe in these challenging times. But let's get into residential and interiors. What an amazing range of projects, from the US to Japan to Singapore and Australia. The range and scale of work has been incredibly diverse, Yet all projects had one thing in common: great quality. Whether quality of concept, quality of craft, the way they addressed their context and sustainability, every single project had a very ambitious agenda. We looked at agile co-working spaces, at bespoke hospitality environments, at really intimate residences, and even affordable housing. And what we found truly remarkable is that great design transcends scale and budget. It has been a privilege to serve on the jury this year, and a great joy to announce the award for multiple housing that goes to the Arroyo Affordable Housing by Koning Eisenberg Architects. Congratulations.
Through sheer wit and sophistication, Koning Eisenberg is once again proving that an architecture worth celebrating has nothing to do with cost per square metre. The warm light of the Californian sun itself is a compositional device, and the architects achieve the maximum dynamic effect through a minimal palette of architectural gestures, well-proportioned voids and solids, angular sunshade devices, and a well-controlled use of colour. Through its simplicity and compelling legibility, the Arroyo not only fosters a great living environment for a community that most needs it, but also raises the bar in the conversation about architectural excellence in affordable projects. Congratulations, Koning Eisenberg Architecture. And I am joined now by Hank Koning and Julie Eisenberg, who are, of course, the 2019 gold medalists. And you're joining us from LA. Congratulations.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. This is quite a surprise. And,
yeah, welcome surprise.
Very nice to be able to connect to you in this way. Now, we've heard a few of the jury's comments there about this project, which I understand is in Santa Monica. Can you tell us a little bit about the context as to how this project came about and what the brief was?
This is a project that provides affordable housing for another project that is currently in construction. So that project has, I think, 240 units. So we've got about 26% of the total as affordable. Now, the name Arroyo is Spanish for a gully, but calling a project the gully doesn't sound so good, does it? It used to be an arroyo that the storm water would from the foothills go to the ocean. Then it became a train track, and then it became a big storm drain pipe through there. And so the idea of the project was to reinstate the idea of an arroyo with riparian landscape, and then use that as an amenity. So it was sort of taking the negative of this complication of the site and turning it into something that was a positive for the folks.
I want to talk about the issue. So when he says 250 units of housing, that's market rate housing. So there's policy in a lot of cities in the US about what they call inclusionary housing. So if you provide X amount of market rate housing, you're obliged to provide a percentage of affordable housing. You'd be entitled to build the market rate. This project represents about a 26% of the total units are provided as affordable housing. We're never going to catch up this way, but it's at least one of many ways that we can start to meet the shortfall and the great need for affordable housing.
Yes, it's a particularly important typology, isn't it? Is there anyone that you'd like to acknowledge or refer to, I suppose, in receiving this award today?
Well, there's the design team, and our design lead on this was Nathan Bishop. And there's a whole bunch of people. If I had known you were going to be talking to us, I would have got everybody's name written down. So now I feel terrible because I can't do that. But there were people who worked really hard on this project, who go above and beyond realizing that what we do in architecture makes a difference for everyone, and they put the same sort of love and attention on a project for people who are clients kind of by default, but we think really deserve that kind of respect, and that we hope that we have done something good for someone. And maybe they won't know, but it's a lot of fun to do.
I would also like to say that the developer of this project was fantastic.
Yeah.
To actually have 64 units of affordable housing with people occupying them while the project that's paying for them is still in construction, that's a first that we've ever heard of. in
It's a level
LA,
of trust, yeah.
and just a fantastic commitment they made towards, doing a community benefit.
Well, the jury was certainly very, very impressed with this project. So congratulations to you and the team once again. And I do hope you enjoy the rest of the evening there in LA.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Annalise Tiller, recently relocated from Dubai, United Arab Emirates, to Melbourne, and I'm watching the Australian International Architecture Awards.
And now to interior architecture, where the jury has awarded 2 commendations. The first commendation goes to Aman Kyoto by Kerry Hill Architects. The interiors of the Aman Kyoto exemplify the luxury hotel brand and create an exclusive and contemporary interpretation of the Japanese onsen experience. The use of light materials and colour palette for the interior stands in dramatic contrast to the dark exterior. In the public interiors, the simple yet elegant features resonate with the building exterior and continue the crafted details that are unique to this project. Congratulations, Kerry Hill Architects. And the next commendation goes to the work project Asia Square by Hassel. The work project creates many engaging experiences and creates spaces that align with the co-working brand's aspiration for quality and innovation. The project establishes some special moments through a series of timber-lined boxes that emphasise unique and playful textures and materials. The fit-out graciously respects the geometry and iconic order of the existing architecture on the base building by Denton Corker Marshall, while creating spaces that reflect today's needs in shared workspaces. Congratulations, Hassel! And now to residential architecture, alterations and additions. The jury have given 1 award, which goes to Terrace House near Demachianagi by Atelier Luke. As an alteration and addition to a small, typical Japanese row house, this refined and restrained project demonstrates how small but intentional interventions can have a great impact. From the exterior, the restoration of the existing facade retains the original scale of the building, and the application of local and traditional construction allows for a wonderful contemporary interpretation of Japanese architecture that considers how materials will age over time. The jury applauds the meticulous detailing of this modest and beautifully crafted residence, which is as detailed as it is delightful. Congratulations, Atelier Luke. And I am joined now by Luke Haywood, who is in Osaka. Hi Luke, how are you going?
I'm well, how are you?
I'm really well. Who do you have there with you?
This is my son Val. He's just keeping me company, which is nice of him to help me out.
Oh, very good. I'm always happy to see, a young person in these acceptance speeches. Now, congratulations on receiving this award. Can I ask, how does it feel to be acknowledged in this way today?
Oh, it's lovely, obviously. But this year was with everything that's going on. I think to have a bit of a connection to the Australian architectural community when we feel quite far away and quite isolated is especially meaningful. So we're very grateful to the Institute, the awards jury and the international chapter.
And Luke, can you give us some context to your practice? For those who aren't as familiar with your work, I understand that you practice in both Japan and Australia.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Can you tell us a little bit about your practice?
Yes, well, we're an incredibly small practice. It's just me and my wife Junko. We work together. We're in Osaka at the moment, but yes, we do work in Australia and Japan. And as would have it with the way luck works, most of our work on site is in Australia and we can't visit it, but we've got people back there that are helping us out, which we're very grateful for.
And what do you like about being able to practice in both those countries?
I think the amount of cross-pollination, I guess, if you will. We take ideas and techniques that we've developed or picked up in Australia and in Japan and can kind of carry them across to projects in the other place. I think it's just, I think think that's probably the most important thing.
And someone's getting a bit noisy, but to wrap up, what would you like us to know about this particular project, this terrace house, or is there anyone that you'd like to acknowledge?
Well, obviously Junko, who contributed a lot to the project, deserves a lot of credit, but also the builders. Like we can't achieve the kind of outcomes we like to achieve in terms of the craft and the detail without willing and skillful craftspeople, and we really had some good help on this. So I'd like to thank everyone at Matsuhiko for helping us out.
Wonderful. Well, look, I might let you go because it sounds like things are about to get pretty real where you are. But look, congratulations once again, and I do hope you enjoy the rest of your day there in Osaka.
Thank you.
G'day there, this is Grant Morani speaking to you from New York City. As you may be able to tell by the building that's looming over my left shoulder. Just want to wish everyone at the International Chapter Awards a wonderful evening, and I hope you all have your masks on. Bye for now.
The next categories are for heritage, public architecture and commercial architecture. And it's my pleasure to hand over to juror Minnie Cade from John Wardle Architects to say a few words about these categories and to make the announcement for heritage.
Hello everyone, and a big welcome. It's great to be a juror this year and to be able to bring the International Chapter Awards to a wider audience. Judging the international category is a very exciting and enjoyable process, as we are privileged to see a great variety of projects that showcase their sense of place. We are lucky enough to be able to talk to architects that are designing and constructing in many countries. It's always interesting to see that we all face many of the same issues, no matter where we are. But equally, it's refreshing to see the different perspectives that are influencing design around the world. The entries this year in the categories of heritage, public and commercial architecture were diverse and demonstrated creativity, initiative and resilience. We saw projects from Samoa, Indonesia, Japan, Singapore and the USA. These ranged from projects that were beautifully crafted and 10 years in the making, projects designed to withstand earthquakes and tsunamis, large-scale office towers designed across whole city blocks, resort-style hotels on the grander scale and intimate studio beachside escapes. We would like to congratulate all of the entrants and commend them on the high quality of design. And now it's my pleasure to announce the award for heritage goes to Museum Lab by Koning Eisenberg Architecture. Congratulations.
Museum Lab, the Children's Museum of Pittsburgh, is an innovative and creative revitalisation of the important yet abandoned historic Pittsburgh Carnegie Library. The project has reinvented an austere masonry edifice into an exciting and meaningful education building, providing access to art-based activities to children from disadvantaged backgrounds. The approach taken to reveal the historic architecture was both clever and inspired, and the spaces are both light-filled and colourful, but more importantly, rich and textural. The Children's Museum, offering cutting-edge experiences in art, technology and making, is both beautiful and forward-thinking. Congratulations, Koning Eisenberg. And I'm joined once again by Hank and Julie, back to LA. Congratulations once again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We started drinking. It's time for us.
Excellent. I look forward to joining you very shortly. Now, I read that embarking on this project was something like starting on an archaeological dig. Can you give us some context to this extraordinary project?
So we were brought in by the Children's Museum, who we've worked with before, and Jane Werner is the director of that museum, and she is very willing to go on explorations. So we sort of blithely said, we need to respect its roots as well as make it feel forward-thinking and a little edgy, because these are teens we're trying to attract. She said, go for it, Julie. So I said, okay, let's get rid of what they've added over the years. And there'd been a very, very major alteration in the 70s, and that alteration concealed a lot of damage. So when that layer was peeled away, what we found was that the column capitals that are usually plaster had been cut off, they'd been sliced, and that the steel armatures that supported them were the only thing that remained. And this was the kind of rule that we came across through the building. Now, we'd gone this direction, there was no turning back. There was no way that the museum could afford a classic restoration, then do something nifty with it. So between us, we came up with this idea, it's like, you know what? This is so in keeping with the idea of a museum, which is a place to discover and to learn and to ask questions and to understand how engineering technology works. Let's play with it. And that's how the idea began. And then it took a lot of meticulous back and forth with the contractor. I know somebody else talked about, you know, who else helped do this. This would never have happened without the kind of contractor we had, without the kind of client we had. And it was a real collaboration between everybody.
And notwithstanding recent events with COVID-19 and shutdowns and so forth, how have the community and the users of this building responded since it opened?
Well, there was a lot of positive response when it first opened. It shut in April because of the COVID virus, and because the policies, we're still not ahead of it yet. And so it's still closed, but the museum are a resilient kind of permanent startup, if you ask me. They'll work out how to bring it back, but we don't know where they're going at the moment. It will all become clear in the next couple of months. But it was an extraordinary program as it got started. It was beginning to attract kids and families. The charter school that was located in the school was getting a lot of benefit, access to tools and thinking that they don't normally cannot normally take advantage of on an everyday basis. So it's all wonderful.
And,
except for the COVID virus.
Oh, well, yeah. What do you hope that its long-term legacy is going to be on the people of Pittsburgh?
So what the Children's Museum are looking at, and they're the developers of this museum lab geared at teens, is teens are a neglected age group. They're pimply and they're not so attractive. But notwithstanding that, they deserve more of our attention, right? They think that the intersection between formal learning, which is what a school does, and informal learning, which is what a museum does, has the opportunity to reveal new possibilities for how we can approach education. And I think that's the underlying idea of this museum. And I think those guys are so bright and have such perseverance that they will find out things that we will really want to know. We just have to wait a little longer because of the pandemic.
I also just want to say that the Children's Museum has taken over 2 abandoned buildings that were vacant for decades, and there's nothing worse in an urban environment than having vacant buildings. And they have restored them and put them to very effective use, both at the museum and the museum lab. And I think that's a very significant thing in a city, in the inner city too.
Excellent.
I just want to mention the wonderful ceiling.
Oh, this is a shout out. So that beautiful installation you saw that was cut fabric was inspired by the old Tiffany glass ceiling that had been above that space and was long gone. And a group of architects who we know well, called Freeland Buck, they came up with a die-cut fabric installation, and it's quite beautiful, and we're proud to have them as part of the project.
And is there anyone
Almost
else
like
that
a tapestry.
Oh, it is, yes. Nice link back to the earlier announcement, Hank. Love your work. Is there anyone else that you'd like to acknowledge in terms of this project?
Well, I think we've mentioned them.
I think we've talked too long.
It's always good to talk to you guys. It's not often we get to speak with gold medalists. So thank you so much for joining us, and congratulations once again to you and your team.
Yeah, thank you, jury.
Thanks.
Yard Watcher. My name is Jennifer.
Yes, I'm Katie.
Hello, Elaine. I'm Lara.
Bravo, I'm Fiona. We are the International and Tasmanian Chapter Team, and you're watching the International Chapter Architecture Awards.
And now to the category of public architecture, where the jury has awarded one commendation, which goes to Parliament of Samoa, Mautafono by Guida Moseley Brown Architects. The Parliament of Samoa is a contemporary interpretation of the traditional meeting building. The meticulously detailed domed roof feels effortless in its resilient design to remain both elegant and robust at the same time. The rigour of both the exterior and interior elements is commendable based on the availability of local materials and construction. There are many symbolic meanings embedded into this project that remain strong in their subtle integration and come together to create a wonderful celebration of heritage, culture and environmentally responsive design. Congratulations, Guida Moseley Brown. The next category is Commercial Architecture, where the jury have awarded 3 commendations and 1 award. The first commendation goes to Funan by Woodsbaggett. Recently reopened in Singapore's Civic District, Funan builds on its 35-year history as a digital shopping hub for the city-state, adding to the mixture of programs a vibrant opportunity for lifestyle retail, food and beverage, co-working and co-living. The eclectic contemporary aesthetic is supercharged with colour, light and enhanced by digital content. Physically and programmatically, Funan revolves around the Tree of Life, a 6-storey timber and steel structure, inclusive and appealing to a broad demographic of live, work, play consumers. Congratulations, Woodsbaggett. A commendation is also awarded to the Apurva Kempinski Bali by Denton Corker Marshall Jakarta, Duta Cermat Mandiri. Located on the southern tip of Bali, the Apurva blends multiple Balinese motifs and influences, is assured in its planning moves and creative in its approach to massing and sustainability. The strong cascading landform architecture responds to the steep natural cliff behind and creates the clever illusion of each room being a private villa, even in a dense hotel clustering. Inspired by the stepped profiles of temple architecture, the project is robust in its form making, yet subtle in its use of materials, texture and colour, bridging the gap between vernacular tradition and contemporary hospitality. Congratulations, Denton Corker Marshall. And the third commendation for commercial architecture goes to The Teeing by Nick Brunston. Situated on the northern coast of Bali, the Teeing immediately stands out through its visible connections with vernacular forms and construction techniques of the land it inhabits. Embracing its climate and means of production as an expression of rugged regionalism, the planning and massing of the architecture responds to wind, views, and celebrates the symbology, craft, and materials of Balinese culture. Positioned as a reward for the intrepid, the Teeing is charming in its earnestness and an example of well-crafted, minimalist neo-vernacular. Congratulations, Nick Brunston. And the award for commercial architecture goes to Aman Kyoto by Kerry Hill Architects. The Aman Kyoto is a series of new pavilions carefully integrated to the rural context and rich history of its site, engaging with traditional Japanese construction while being completely contemporary in its resolution. The stone path forms intentional connections that could almost be part of the same master plan, and the meeting of the old and new is seamlessly integrated to give each space a unified experience that is balanced between the building and the landscape beyond. The elegant forms of the pavilions and screens further reinforce this strong relationship, like lanterns amongst the forest landscape, and the jury applauds the understated elegance of this project. Congratulations, Kerry Hill Architects. And I'm joined now by Justin Hill and Isabelle Verneau in Singapore. Welcome and congratulations. Hello.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Can I ask, how does it feel to receive this award today for this project?
I think it's a very great privilege. The project has been a long time in the making, and a lot of staff at KHA in Singapore have really applied themselves to bring it through to the quality it is, and we're very proud of this project.
And the practice has a very long association, obviously, with Amman. In fact, we saw one of the previous Jörn Utzon Award winners in the reel at the beginning of today's show. Can you tell us about this particular site? Because I understand that Kerry Hill identified the site and brought it to Amman's attention, is that right?
Yes, Kerry was given a tip-off some 25 years ago about this site becoming available, and it was introduced to Amman, who have been a very long-term client of ours in their very long history together, our very long shared history together. And then we went through a process which lasted until last year, which is when we finally finished the project.
And the jury, of course, have also awarded a commendation for interiors for this project, as well as bestowing the Commercial Architecture Award. Can you talk to us a little bit about the interiors? I understand from the jury citation they're absolutely extraordinary.
Isabel.
Isabel.
Well, it was a very humbling experience, and really we wanted to apply a very light touch. Distinct but light touch, preserve the beauty of the garden, obviously, and embrace the surrounding nature. And obviously, a lot of customization has applied to the project, furniture, joinery, fabrics, artifacts. We worked very closely with local artisans, and obviously, you can imagine it as a very enriching experience.
Absolutely. And is there anyone in particular you'd like to acknowledge? The craftsmanship and detailing of this looks absolutely extraordinary.
Well, I think we have to really acknowledge both the owner of the site, Chartered Group, and also Amman. I mean, the client actually pulled it all together and really poured their assets into this, didn't they? And they were really quite amazing and very supportive, both Amman and the owners. So I think was a very important aspect to the project. Everybody sort of hung in over the years and to deliver it as it was designed. So we felt very privileged in having that support, didn't we?
Yeah, we really been backed up by all the various paths we wanted to take or explore on the project. So, I mean, this is what is the success of the project, really. It's not only the architect or the interior designer, it's the understanding of the project and every person involved kind of driven to that, to the same finality of quality.
Wonderful. Well, look, thank you very much. It certainly does look like an extraordinary project, and congratulations to you, the team, and also the client on such a fantastic result.
And just finally, I'd like to say thank you to the jury for your deliberations, and thanks to the Australian Institute of Architects, in particular all the staff of the Australian Institute of Architects. Hi Jen, you're doing a great job. Thanks.
And I know that Jen's watching, so thank you so much for that, Justin. Well, thank you again, congratulations, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the day in Singapore.
Thank you.
Hi all, Julia Cambage here. Big shout out to all the entrants in tonight's Australian Institute of Architects International Architecture Awards. Here's to a great night and good luck everyone.
And now to the final category, Sustainable Architecture, where the jury has awarded 1 commendation and 2 awards. The commendation goes to Miura Fold House by James Stockwell Architect. Passively heated and cooled, the Miura Fold House blends seamlessly with its surrounding landscape and makes great use of its thermal mass and orientation. Much of the excavated stone is reused in the surrounding shelter walls, integrating the house with the site. The low embodied energy materials, low toxin finishes and local construction techniques further reduce the ecological impact of this dwelling, making it a commendable example of sustainability by design. Congratulations, James Stockwell Architect. The first award for sustainable architecture goes to Museum Lab by Koning Eisenberg Architecture. This project demonstrates how a heritage building can be reinvented into a contemporary and sustainable building. The design team have elegantly mastered the difficulty of retrofitting sustainable systems and materials into an historic fabric, and high-performance facade elements have been incorporated in a sensitive and considered way into the existing historic fabric, turning what was almost an archaeological ruin into a functioning thermal envelope. Museum Lab is also the first building in the United States to achieve a Universal Design Certificate from the Centre for Inclusive Design and Environmental Access for a design that is welcoming to all. Congratulations, Koning Eisenberg Architecture. And the second award for Sustainable Architecture goes to the Arroyo Affordable Housing by Koning Eisenberg Architecture. The jury applauds the environmental performance of this project, which has already received the highest level of certification from the United States Green Building Council. The most visible architectural element contributing to the impressive reduction of solar heat gain is the angular sunshade devices, framing each glazed opening on two sides. It is immediately obvious how effective the geometry of the sunshade is at projecting deep shadows across all glazed surfaces. The Arroyo sets an exemplary precedent for affordable housing through clever planning and as an architecture sensible to its climate, location and users. Congratulations, Koning Eisenberg Architecture. Congratulations indeed to Koning Eisenberg Architecture with 4 awards today. Well, that brings the announcements to a close, but we have this message from the International Chapter President, Samantha Cotterill.
Hello members, thank you for joining our awards night. I'm Samantha Cotterill and I'm the chair of the International Chapter of the Australian Institute of Architects. I want to thank the fantastic talent that has walked through our doors this year, but I also want to say that in reality we are very lucky, I think generally as Australian architects, to have the talent that we have, and the awards always seem to be a very exciting part of our year in the Institute of Architects. I specifically want to say how grateful I am to be part of this talented group with their intrepid, adventurous spirit, who take off and go around the world and set themselves up in different cultures and challenge everything they know and then turn that into fantastic work, and then they bring that home to celebrate with their colleagues. I think this is a perfect example of how we might all work in the future, given the situation we've all been put into. And on that, I'd just like to say that we did deliberate long and hard within the Institute and within our National Council as to whether we should or not host these awards this year. Is it appropriate to celebrate in a time such as this? However, it was unanimously eventually decided that indeed, as humans, that's exactly what we should do. We should continue to celebrate, and that's what we'll continue to do. I also want to say that in reality we were all supposed to be standing in Venice this year, celebrating as part of our initiative with the Venice Biennale, but that for obvious reasons we're not. So I would just like to say thank you for everyone. Thank you to Wei for being a fantastic chair of our awards program, and thank you to the jurors for offering your time to spend time to deliberate the wonderful work that's been done, and thank you everyone who supported this event. And I want to say let's look forward to seeing you in Venice next year or the one after. Let's keep the dream alive. Thank you everyone. Have a wonderful evening.
And now, to wrap up both these Chapter Awards announcements and the entire series, I am joined by the Institute of Architects National President, Helen Lockhead. Helen, thank you so much for joining me this afternoon.
Hi, nice to see you.
You too. Now, Helen, it's hard to believe that the Institute started with its very first live-streamed announcement only 3 or so months ago, and it was you announcing the prizes, including the President's Prize. I think over the last 7 weeks or so, we've had 30,000 views on YouTube of the Architecture Awards announcements. Could you possibly have imagined that there'd be so much interest?
I mean, I think it's amazing. I think it's extraordinary to see how in this time when we have so many challenges, the opportunities that come out of being in ISO. I mean, the fact that we've got 30,000 engagements is just something we would never have imagined previously, and it really provides an opportunity for the future to have a greater reach and impact and a greater audience going forward. I'm really excited about this.
And Helen, we are living in extraordinary times at the moment. It's been fascinating to cross to the members around Australia and overseas. I think you are my 110th live cross today, which is extraordinary. But do you have a comment about the importance of the profession, particularly at this point in time we're all living through?
Look, I think the COVID-19 has had a huge impact on our profession, but it's also really reinforced the importance of architecture and the visceral experience of the physical. We are all locked in our own little ISO offices, and we just yearn for human contact and engagement in real experiences and real places. And I think the importance of architecture, the value it brings to our lives and our quality of life is even more heightened in this particular virtual period we're living through. So I think what we've got this unusual experience this year with these virtual awards, I think we'll all look forward to the real deal in 2021 and beyond. So I'm looking forward to it for sure.
And do you have a message for the members in Australia and also internationally as we wrap up this very final live streamed event?
Well, I'm very excited that I've been able to join in the International Awards, and I'm sure many of our regional members and our Australian members in all parts of Australia who have never actually participated in our awards program have been able to join. And as I said, it's not just our members, but it's a much broader audience of clients and future clients and sponsors and many, many industry partners. So I think this is a great opportunity. It's being, again, a silver lining in a dark cloud in a moment in time, but it will not stop us, and we'll go on to greater events in the future and greater possibilities. And like Samantha, I look very much forward to Venice Biennale in 2021. So
excellent.
Fingers crossed. Welcome. Okay, thank you.
Fingers crossed indeed. Thank you so much for joining us, Helen. I hope to see you soon. Bye.
Hi.
My name is Jennifer Nichols and I'm the Executive Director of the International Chapter of the Australian Institute of Architects. It's my great pleasure to work with all the international members around the world on making the world a better place through architecture. Thanks for joining us. Good night.
And that brings the Australian Institute of Architects Awards announcements to a close for now. But we will be back in November with the National Architecture Awards announcement, so I hope you can join us then. In the meantime, if you'd like to catch up on any of the previous awards, you'll find them all on the Institute's YouTube channel. I'd like to take this opportunity to congratulate all of the winners in this year's Architecture Awards program, and indeed everyone who has entered. It has been an absolute pleasure to be able to showcase the exemplary work of the Institute's members this year. In the meantime, in these challenging times, I do hope you stay safe and take care. I hope to see you soon, but let's close off with some messages from the Institute's members that we've collected over the last 7 weeks or so. Over to you.
Okay, everyone, take 27.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. Hi, I'm Joel. This is Chloe.
We're Alcon Middleton.
We're Carter Wilson.
Huntingford Architecture.
We're Dicey Richards.
We're Borelli.
Excellent Architects.
Hi, from Gatanu.
We're the Cologne Architects.
We're Wilson Architects.
Hi, I'm John Taylor.
We're Mate Smart.
We're Matt Studio.
You're watching the awards.
You're watching the Architectural Awards. Where?
From Gadigal Country in Sydney.
From Brisbane.
We're standing outside our sunny Glen Osmond studio.
Speak to you from New York City.
Recently relocated from Dubai.
International Chapter Council are based in Hong Kong. And you're watching the Australian International Architecture Awards.
Got Alan.